So we can go ahead and start. I don't know if anybody else is coming.
So yeah,
Where do I?
it's actually good because I live in Vancouver, Canada, BC. So we are on the same line, same time zone, which is great. I always like to be in the same time zone that I am in. Yeah.
Because
My name's Andy. So yeah, so I already watched a few of your videos. What Sorry, I'm going to talk a lot because you will understand later. Um, I've been practicing yoga for a while, and I'm always very attracted to different kind of philosophies since I was a kid. My background is Taiwanese, so Buddhism and Taoism has always been in my life. And I went to Christian school. Christian, it's a private school. My parents sent me to private school, and it happened to be Christian private school. So I'm actually quite well versed in all three kind of literature. And then ever since I started practicing yoga, I became a little bit more familiar with Hinduism as well. I'm always in more of. I used to be atheist, and then I think in the last 10 years, I come around to believe that I am atheist in the fact that I don't believe in any current religion, but more spiritual that or the new age thing that consciousness of the universe is the God. That's what I have turned to believe in. I'm a little bit nervous. Sorry about that. And last year, I started to get really somehow attracted to Reiki, energy healing. So I took a Reiki course earlier in March, and what happened was after I finished the course, a week after I finished the course, I had something I believe to be a spontaneous Kundalini awakening from bottom up. So from the I know from your video you have a top down. I have a bottom up. It wasn't traumatic because I've been practicing yoga. I know I know what it is, and again, sorry, I'm talking a lot because I have a few questions, and this is my pre-closure disclosure. And after that one was actually quite big. I was rotating, just like what they say in the book. I was rotating. I was doing this. I saw a tunnel. A light of tunnel, and that was the first one. And then after that, about every week or every other week, about every other week, I will have a awakening. It would happen to me again, uncontrollably. You always very impulsively happening to me. The most memorable one is that I think it's the third one, the fourth one. So the tunnel, I was rotating, and I started to speak to myself. I don't actually remember what I asked. I was more like a question and answering session with myself. The only question I remember is that I actually say that I had enough. I want to go. I would like to leave. I had enough. And I answer myself that you chose to stay. You chose to come. So you don't really think that you want to go. You actually want to stay. None of this makes sense to me at that time. About 3 weeks ago, I was exposed to the raw material because of a YouTube channel. And then I've been reading it. I've been starting reading it. I'm on session 65, 67 now. And then, of course, at the same time, I was, researching, and somehow I came to your channel. I know most of those channels actually are quite similar, but yours, for some reason, and then it's not, yours is just, I don't know, I just feel very familiar with you for some reason. And then the things that you talk about, so that's basically why I'm here right now.
Okay, so I got most of the story except for the last few seconds there. I just had a couple questions. So the Kundalini was activated
Yes.
first time in what year?
This March.
Oh, this
year.
Now, okay.
2019.
All right. So yeah, it's interesting because
it's all very new.
The same thing happened to me
Yeah.
When mine was first activated. One of the first people I found was Carla Ruckert in the raw material. I devoured it. Literally, everything on her site, I devoured in 3 days. I read everything. I watched every video nonstop around the clock for 3 days. And just took it all in. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I have a very strong connection to that energy also. And that raw, I don't know if you've gotten to the point where you're finding out who that raw is, but it's not the same sun god Ra. It's a social memory.
No. Yeah.
From Venus. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, which is kind of interesting.
Yes. I did feel like I have been on the path my whole life though. But then it does feel like everything has been waiting for this year to happen, I guess.
Yes.
Even though I have to say, and I have to admit, I'm still very reluctant. I'm trying not to be. I'm trying not to be reluctant and resistant to all of this. But I think the last part that you missed is that I was telling you an anecdote how resistant I was. I even told my best friend that if they ever hear me say that I believe in energy healing or crystal, they can slap me. And then recently, I just told them that, I owe you guys 2 slaps. You guys can slap me twice now because I do believe in energy healing and crystal now. So you guys actually get to slap me.
How far you got into my videos, but after my awakening process, which took 4 years, the first couple years highly uncomfortable. I didn't want to set it down. I was not resistant in the slightest. So I had a 4-year, 24/7, round-the-clock awakening. So I was taken into my own biological structure, beginning every night at about 6 o'clock. The uncomfortable energies would start coming into the body. My feet would just get insanely hot, the whole thing was very uncomfortable, waist down through the legs. And it's interesting because my legs have always been super sensitive. No one can touch my legs. And it's taken me a lifetime of working with body workers to work out whatever I'm storing there that is a lot of the resistance and blocks within my body structure, so the Kundalini had to work through all of that. And it just felt every night, I would be taken into additional frequencies. So the awareness of being inside my biological structure and the work being performed on the body literally felt like every bit of me was being broken, like smashed with a hammer, broken, and then reset every night for years, for about 2 years.
Horrifying. That sounds horrifying.
It sounds horrible,
Oh
Um,
my goodness.
you know, and although it was not comfortable, it was also okay. I'm in my 50s, and at this age, I'm extremely bored here. This world is not enough for me. I had the extra awareness. I was born with it. I never let it go. So boredom has been a problem with me. It's like being here is like being on a kiddie ride, and you know, you can only do it for so long before you're like insane with not having as much information and experience as what you're used to. And so this put me back into the non-mundane. And for that reason alone, I was happy, extremely happy. Something was
Mm,
that was not usual. And wow, what is this? And the fact that I didn't know, also interesting. So I'm in this elongated state of pure awe is sort of the fundamental energy in which it's all happening. I was just wide-eyed. What is this? What is going on? And because I was having the top-down awakening, uh, right from the get-go, right from day one, I'm going out of body. You know, I'm going into the additional frequency fields. So I'm not just experiencing what's happening in the physical space with the physical body. I'm also co-simultaneously in the etheric version of my room, where there are some very interesting things going on, like mechanical spiders crawling across the ceiling, and um, uh, extraterrestrials coming into the space, and these portals opening, and all kinds of energy things happening uh, with and around my body. And at the same time, I'm not just in the two fields. The thing that happened with me is my awareness opened way out, which is what happens in a top down opening. Uh, and so I'm in 4 or 5 fields at the same time, fully in environments, looking around, being aware of what's there, being aware that I'm in a different form in each of the fields, and you know, all of that. I was able to somehow hold all the data all at once and make it back into physical space, into the beta brainwave frequency with the data intact, which was that was phenomenal. So I didn't lose the data, which is why I started the YouTube channel. I didn't ever want to lose the data. I wanted to get it down. Yeah. So that took 4 years uh,
right.
for me, and I didn't want to let go of it at that point, but was made to, because I'm still meant to hold my position on the field here in physical space. And well, the more you go out, the more you go out, you begin to lose your position on the field. You don't just go out of body and come back in, you go out of body for good. And so the energy had to be refocused back down into the physical, which was that was the painful part for me. I spiraled down into a pretty severe depression. I became
Uh,
very non-normal. I didn't want to live indoors anymore. I didn't want to work for pay anymore. A lot of things. I was really, really at that point struggling with the conditional world. And so I went through a 4-year period of time where I worked through all of that.
I saw your video on,
Because
yeah,
I have to stay too. Yeah. So that's one of the ways that I'm able to stay in touch with them. The pictures were a way that I could show you what was happening. I can just
yeah,
see, I can just go there. I
yeah,
can just pick up the
yeah.
crystal, and the crystal helps me connect, because they're connected to those crystals. The crystals that are here are the same crystals
Mhm.
that are there. Crystal, you know, just like anything,
Right.
is a mm, is a total self, and then there's fractals of that total that are here, and so it's all connected. So I can use these crystals, and I came into the crystals lab,
Right.
and the first thing that I connected with was the animal kingdom. So uh, as my process is first beginning, I'm getting my first dog to take care of. So I'm I'm monastic and a hermit. I never married, never wanted to marry, never had children, never had animals, never had the something to take care of that was in my immediate environment. I'm a caregiver by trade, but in my home, there was never anything. And so at first I was given the animal kingdom, and all these animals started coming to me. And I started realizing I could help them like I could help my clients get healthy. So it was working the healing portion of my component here. And then the plants came in during my...
I think I've lost you.
Okay, we'll give it just a minute, and it usually comes back.
Yeah, you're coming back. You're coming back.
Okay, good. Yeah, so then the plants came in, and during the first year of my awakening, I had like 6 trees and 47 plants in my little room. And I started learning how to connect with the plants. And of course, I needed the oxygen that they gave off because of how much I was going out. When you go out into the additional frequency fields, more frequencies, more energy, more information is coming through your biological structure, and its requirements become more than before. I needed more oxygen, more air, and that's why they had me bring in all the plants. Needed a lot more water. So upwards of 1 gallon a day in order to stay hydrated, for the central nervous system to be functioning to par and be able to bring back the data into the beta brain wave from the additional frequencies. So that's like when you're dreaming at night, and most people when they wake up aren't remembering their dreams. They can't get those higher frequencies to fit in the beta frequency here. So it's hard to get those fields to merge, to the point where you're being able to bring the data back with you. And so that was a lot of the work. And the animal kingdom had to be brought in, the plant kingdom had to be brought in, and then the mineral kingdom. So it's all connected. You're just reconnecting with all the kingdoms. That's a part of the process.
Yeah,
it's not woo. It's not woo. Yeah, people think it's woo-woo. It's not woo. This crystal composes 70% of our planet. This is the Earth.
Yes.
Quartz crystal
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
These grow right up out of the Earth. It's not woo. It's as earthy as you can get. Just most people are very circumferent.
Yeah. I see that now.
Yeah. Beneath the soil, most people don't get beneath the circumference, the topsoil. They think of that as Earth. But go down deeper, go into the core. Yeah. You're going to find that the fundamental component of this planet is quartz crystal and silica in general. Silica sand, which just right at the surface, is just a part of that silica. Yeah. So this is as grounded and connected as you could be, earth-wise.
Yeah. So we were talking about vibrations and crystals. I just want to mention one thing. This does happen to me sometimes. So when I'm talking to some people, but not all people, my peripheral vision will go completely hazy. I really don't know what that is. I had that since I was a kid. And I told my parents about it. And like every other responsible, normal parent will tell me, don't pay too much attention to it. They don't know what it is. And, I understand why they gave me that answer. And then on top of that, when I meditate or just sometime during the day, my whole body would actually just have this tingling, buzzing feeling. I also had that since I was a kid. It increases when I started doing yoga. I just think of it as a body awareness increase. And then after Kundalini awakening, I hear a frequency in both of my ears. It's not tinnitus. I had it checked out. I really don't know. Yeah, yeah. So I kind of want to ask about, but I don't get this peripheral hazing or whatever it is. Everything is kind of bleached out into the background, and then kind of like you actually have a shine, and I believe that's what people say aura, but I don't see that in everyone. I only see that in certain people.
Yeah.
I can't even see my own. I don't know why. Yeah, like right now, when I look out, it's like there's a static in front of me, like in the peripheral vision, and everything. Every time I fixate my just focus on you, everything just blurs out. Yeah, everything just blurs out. Yeah, so the three things: the hearing, the frequency, the buzzing that comes. It also comes when I meditate, and yeah, and then the bleaching out eye thing. Is that what I just kind of want to know? Is that something that you feel, and is that something that you can talk to me about?
Yes, you can work with it. All of these are tools.
Okay.
So I do a variety of things with my vision that I've done since I was a child that allow me to go out of physical space and into additional space. And the one that you're mentioning is something that you are using to do this also. You're just putting out all of the extraneous information and almost lose it. Seems like you're using your vision as almost a laser. You know, how narrow can you get your clear space? Can you get it to go very small? Can you get it to go smaller?
Right now,
okay.
Right now, it's actually just the size of your head. I can actually make it small as the size of head. Everything else just blurs out. But that's only with you. That's one thing I just noticed. I don't think I have something this strong when I'm talking to someone else. I know this sounds very, I don't even know how I'm going to describe it, but I don't know why, but it's just you. Maybe it has something to do when I click on I don't even I remember how I saw you, how I found your channel. The Bring Forth forum. Yeah. There's the Bring Forth.
I'm there.
And he was saying that he is a 5D STS, and he was having a discussion with everyone. And you posted, you replied to his post saying that you completely understand where he's coming from, and you understand he's here to do some work. And that thread was all about people actually trying to convert him from STS to STO. But your post was just saying, recognizing his existence. So to me, that was so refreshing when I was reading a thread. So I clicked on your channel. And when I click on the first video I clicked on was the crystal communication. And like I say, I'm actually still, I don't know a lot about crystal. I like them as things to put on my desk, but they're pretty things back then. Right now I'm working a little bit more with them. And sorry, what I'm trying to say is that the vision I have with you right now, I think it's something to do with, I don't know, the connection I have with you. I know that sounds lame, but that's how I felt. Because honestly, I never had this kind of feeling, oh, I see this thing with anyone. I had one of my supervisor in my last job, every time I talk to him, it does the same thing. Yeah, but he is probably, I probably have like out of 10 people in this of my lifetime that when I talk to would have this kind of effect to my vision. Sorry.
It's just that it's easier to do with some people. Work it. Practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just keep practicing with everyone, basically. try to focus my clear vision to one as small as possible. Basically, think of it as laser. I actually never thought of that. That's such a good analogy. It kind of just clicked in my head. Like I know what to do with it now.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
see, you actually are going right through me into an additional frequency field when this is happening. You're just not holding the conscious awareness of that
Right.
field yet. But as you begin to work with this, and by the way, this is a really good one to work with healing. So I don't know if you've come to an understanding yet, your awakening is still brand new, as to what your skill is, what you know, are here and are here
I don't know.
level. But yeah, healing is certainly a basic one that's in us all. It's just that some of us are purely healers, and we have a particular modality that we'll use for this. And I use my vision for this also. So I'll describe what happens in my vision. My range of vision expanding was the first thing that began happening for me. As a child, I was realizing that what I saw in my visual field was more than what other people were seeing in their visual fields. For instance, I don't see the physical space first. I see the physical space last. The first thing in my field of vision right here and always when I'm paying attention, not when I'm busy and in a hurry or something like that, but normally when I'm not. The first thing I see is the space. Space is beautiful. Space is, and it's visual, it's visible, and it's composed of particles. And I'm aware of these, this ocean of bright point lights, bright particles that are composing everything that we're visually seeing. I see that first. So I guess you could say I'm able to visually break things down into a molecular scale. But I actually see that first. So as I'm looking at
I'm sorry to stop you because you just touch on something that I resonate a lot. So do you, when in your vision, when you say you see particles, do you see like little dots, kind of like static, TV static that just fly around?
Except for they're rainbow colored. They're like soap bubbles. You know what a soap bubble looks like in the sun with all the pretty colors, swirls? They're like that. They're tiny points.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. But they're
I don't see color. I don't see color myself. I black and white and sometimes blue. Yeah.
Yes. So there's a lot that's there in that space. There's a lot that's possible to do with it. So just start playing with it and seeing what presents.
Okay.
So I can somehow isolate an individual of these particles. And if I isolate it gets bigger. It gets to like the size of the head of a pin rather than the point of a pin. You know, size-wise, it's about 20 times larger.
Yeah.
And I can see that it's circular, that it has radiations, and there's a point in the center, like the symbol for the sun. The circle with the point dot in the middle is the symbol for sun, and that's what they look like. And I'm going to say 2D. I haven't even got to the really fun stuff yet. So now I can focus into it, and there'll be a single solid color. Like if I isolate one like this, there'll be a single solid color. It'll be purple or blue or green that I'm seeing. And it'll be about 20 times larger than the pinpoint sized ones. And then if I continue isolating it, I can go inside of it. And right before I go inside of it, the vision is going to break out into another field. Going into it will break me into what is traditionally called an out-of-body experience. You know, I'll begin to experience the shift, the ride, and then I'll find myself in a new location. So I use this when I'm working with healing people through my capacity to go into those fields and through my capacity for healing. So for instance, I'll isolate your form there. And I do something with my vision. I'm not able to explain to you what it is I do. I soften my gaze. I could say this. I soften my gaze.
Okay.
And the whole space now begins to just feel like a pillow, or maybe floating in water, sometimes levitating, but it will have this very light feeling to it. And
Right.
I'll begin to see a white shadow, what I call a white shadow around the circumference of you. And if I just focus into the white, I don't have to move my eyes at all. I still see you, but I take my main focus into the white. You will go completely transparent. I won't see your body form now. It will be there. I will see the outline of the space where it's supposed to be, but I'm in this white shadow thing now. And I can go further into the white shadow, and other things will begin happening. But as I do, I'll begin to see these snowflake-like formations of brightly colored lights floating around your form, perhaps. This is one example of something that I might see. When I see those, there's no putting on the brakes. I just fly into them. And new vision field. I'm in a new screen now, a new environment, an out-of-body experience. And what that will be is a life moment from your total history, not just in this body form, but in additional body forms that you're carrying within this one and completing with here now, hopefully. And I end up there with you to help you out somehow. I may be standing next to you as a helper. I may be directly in your consciousness as point consciousness within your consciousness field in that lifetime. If I look down at myself, I will be the person that you are. And in this manner, I am just simply meant to think and feel the things that I think and feel when I experience things. And me doing that in that moment gives you access to those thoughts and feelings rather than the ones you're traditionally running to create a certain problem for yourself. And it'll feel like your thoughts and feelings, but really, if that's me there in there having them and giving you access to them. Yeah, it's fascinating, just fascinating. And sometimes I can make it back with all that data, and sometimes not. I will always have the data that the work is done, that something has been moved, something has been changed, and always that. Also, I'll begin to see your people.
Sorry, 1 second. Let me grab a pen and pencil. I just want to write this down.
Oh, I'm recording. I'll send you the recording.
I just like making notes. I just like making notes.
Yeah, good. No, I love to hear.
Speaking, actually, the interesting part is, as you were telling me about, you can isolate the particle that you see, and one of them would actually get bigger. I just tried that.
Yes.
And it did.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about. You were saying that the white thing that would be surrounding people, I see that in you too. I see that in people on the street sometimes too. It really depends. Like you say, it's easier to see on some people. But I think that can come with practice. So, and you're explaining your method is to focus on the white light, so on the surrounding that person, right? So you just keep focusing and would you set an intention to go in there, or is that how you think about it?
What happens is an interest in me opens up. Like I'll find myself highly interested Yeah, and so it's that. And the white shadow is not the gold shadow, because there's a gold aura that I also see. It's different than this.
Yeah.
The white shadow will not be all the way around you, and it will be larger in some areas and absolutely missing from other areas. It's a pattern. And yeah, that pattern is something. Sort of how those things where you can stare at the image and then look at the wall, and it comes back at you from the wall.
Okay.
It's sort of like that. It's, you would never guess
Yeah.
the lines on that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Learn something, but yeah, it's like that.
Okay.
And
It's good to talk to someone who actually sees the same thing. I don't feel like I'm going crazy.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. And I'm in this mixture of feeling that constantly, ever since beginning of this year, that I'm either going insane or I have found the truth. So, yeah. So I'm in a mixture of these two, basically constantly. I'm constantly watching my own behavior to make sure somehow, at least, I still have my sanity and rationality and logic, even though I am believing this. I'm leaning towards the fact that, well, not leaning. I know this is the truth, because some of them just come so, yeah, I don't even know how to explain it. It just, like, when I first read the raw material, all I did was I click on the, so I went to the, you have the recording of the original sessions. So the first time I went on the site, I click on one of the recording. And as soon as the 3 word comes out of the recording, I am raw, I had this whole body frequency thing. It was buzzing like crazy. And I just felt like, oh my God, what, this is it. I didn't even know what it is, because I didn't even read it yet. And I just played it, and it just, yeah, it's so, I never had that experience ever. It's just like, oh my God, this sounds so familiar. This sounds like I want to listen to this. And it was just that simple 3 words, I am raw. And yeah, that was so, I have goosebumps when I think about it.
Same here. I have the same
So
visceral.
thank you so much. Yeah. I'm not sure where. Yeah, I think I have asked my question today, and I just want to let you know how appreciative I am of you. This opportunity to talk to someone who's been through the same thing, and actually talk to a person and talk about the technical side of it. It's yeah, like a lot of the times when I go on forum and look for more information on this, most of the stuff I find is mostly emotional. Not that it doesn't help, but it's just not concrete enough for me to anchor myself. I think it's just more, to me, that's just more experiences I can recognize and acknowledge, but this is something I can actually grab onto. Okay, I'm gonna practice the vision thing. I watched the recording that you have with the other 4 people about the our body experience. That's something I'm always interested in. And I have some very. You were talking about one should focus on the geometric shapes when you are about to get into. It's to me, it's almost like a geometric pattern on a room, on the wall of a room, and then they kind of move a little bit somehow, like 3D hologram type of thing that it's kind of moving. Yes, yesterday when I was meditating, and I have another question I'll ask you later. Yesterday when I was meditating, I saw the geometric pattern, and I remember what you were saying. So I focused on that. I saw kind of like a European city with a brick road. Um, and then people like human, like kind of, I think they are human beings. They are very human-like, with a human fashion attire. I'm kind of fuzzy on the detail because it wasn't really detailed to me. Maybe I have to focus on that. Yeah, I actually saw that a couple times already. I think I saw that earlier this year, and then I saw that again yesterday or 2 days ago. You first see it, and then you will hear it somehow, and then eventually you will get to feel it as though you're there. Okay, so that's what I will focus on.
Yes, you can go as far into an experience as you want. And while we're on this subject, let's go back to your resistance
Okay.
that we started with in the beginning. So how would you describe your
Okay.
resistance and your resistance
Yeah.
level?
Yeah.
Can you identify where in the body the resistance is being carried?
It's interesting that you were telling me about your lower body. So my right side of my body, especially right here, and my this whole right hip area, is always tight. Uh, I think that's resistance. My left side doesn't feel anything. My left side is completely open. I practice yoga. I practice yoga every day. I'm trying very hard through the physical practice to open it up. But I think I'm at the place that I think I just need to keep working on it. Basically, I think I'm at the bottleneck. So I just need a lot more practice to push it open. But if there's anything that's more mental work that I can do, please let me know. Because I'm mainly using the physical practice to try to open them up.
I would suggest working with the mind, the breath, and the body. So not just the yogasana, but pranayama, the breathing, and the meditation, as you're already doing. It is a whole
Mm-hmm.
package. You definitely don't want to leave the breathing out
Right.
of the middle because there's a great distance between the mental field and the physical body. The breath is what's going to connect.
Sorry, you don't want to breathing out what?
Okay, am I back in? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, but there's one part I did hear you, but I'm wondering if you can repeat that. The whole thing about the breath.
Yes, I was saying you don't want to leave the breath out. The breathing practices,
Okay.
the breathing patterns, all of this has a purpose because there's a great distance between the mental body and the physical body. And if you leave the breathing practices out of your practice as a whole, you're going to have a gap. So one of the best
Okay.
that there is to relax a certain area of the body, and meditation can help with this, is the mental command, the mental connecting of the mind with that area of the body, and the mental command to relax there. The next way is to breathe into that space so that it begins to become more malleable. And as you breathe into the space isn't as tight, as full of tension and pain and discomfort, as soon as it's not something that you don't want to go into, you will. The breath will animate it, and you'll actually be able to travel into your own biological structure to see what's happening. From what you have already told me, I'll just say this one other thing. You are going out of body. You're just not getting back with the data yet.
It does seem like that's the case. I was watching your out body mentoring session with all of them. The one thing that I did notice that there are a couple days I would wake up with the whole body vibrating, as in buzzing. I would feel the tingling, so strong that I feel like I have been in a cocoon like that. I feel so tight, and then my whole body is buzzing. Even though I sleep like that, I sleep on my back with my head up like that most of the time. So I feel a little bit groggy, a little not having the data with me. And then that my body was feeling it, but I don't remember it.
Yeah. So that buzzing, that full body vibration that you're feeling, you mentioned that you sometimes feel it during the day, not just when
Yes,
you wake up.
like right now.
During,
Right now, it's actually buzzing.
yeah. So that's the Kundalini, and that's also what the Kundalini does in most people that haven't been activated to awaken yet. It's very appropriate to conceive of the energy centers of the body as aligned along the spinal area of the body, from the pelvic floor to the crown of the head. And those of us that are awakening,
Yeah.
it's not this. The inner energy centers of the body
Yes.
are being brought into an alignment, and conceiving of them as concentric circles now is the more appropriate. That's the opening of the pathway, the opening of the doorway from one space into another space, from one frequency of reality into another frequency of reality. I call it graduation. It's just like graduating the third grade into the fourth grade. Graduation is very real. And the inner energy centers of the body being brought into this alignment. So there's not this separation between the centers, but they're all occupying the same space. That's what that vibration That's what that vibration is. You're beginning to feel the additional frequencies, the additional, you will have additional sensitivity to more and more and more. You'll feel things more deeply, tactily, physically. So it may get to the point where you're sitting there and, like me, you'll feel a hand on your head. Because there are additional frequency fields here and additional consciousnesses, beings, entities in them. And they are interacting with us, and they are helping to facilitate this whole process. And so the connection with the additional fields and the occupants of those additional fields becomes more and more also. You'll only be given what you can handle without closing the whole thing down. I wanted it all at once, and I was given it all at once.
I kind of wanted all of them at once, to be honest. I just want something to anchor my experience. Not that I want it for anything. I don't know. I want to see more. I think we have one thing in common. I find this life really boring. I find people boring. Their emotions are so simple. Their fixations on stuff are simple. I don't want to say, they are fixated on things that sometimes are not the most important thing in the world. So thank you. I like that worldview. And you mentioned that, but then one thing, I would like to share something a little bit more personal. I hope that doesn't give you, because I don't feel anything about it.
Share away, but
to be honest,
we have about 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
And then I have another room I have to open.
Okay, I'll be very.
Okay.
Right, I'll be very, very quick. So it's nothing important. It's just that I just find this life, this human life, a little bit too boring for me. I actually thought and told several of my friends that I actually already checked my bucket list. I don't know why I'm still here. It's kind of annoying because it's quite boring. So what you say resonated a lot with me. I think I just need to switch into the attitude that which you have, that this is all so much fun and so much so exciting. I should be as curious. And then focus as much all my energy to this basically, because everything else is just it's boring. Thank you. One last question, very very quick. I do use marijuana.
Okay.
I have I don't know how I think about it with this work, that the energy frequency, trying to increase it. What's your thought on that?
I myself would not use it as a tool. Once the Kundalini is activated, you no longer need the tools. It does everything. So, and the way that you'll be brought into more experience, deeper experience, additional frequency experience fields is through your pure intent, your absolute lack of resistance, and your cognitive ability to cognize your own interest, your own fascinations, your own questions. So here, ground level, we are the question asking element. Ask a question, go inside yourself, feel that inner space. That inner space is actually a consciousness, a being connecting with you. People call it the higher self. I call it my galactic counterpart. Call it whatever you want to call it. But it is connecting with you. It is there. You are in its space when you are in the inner fields. And so send out your questions. Send out, talk to it. Start the dialogue and see what you begin to get back. And as your visual center is so open, pay attention to what you see in front of your closed eyes, because the reply could be a color swirl. And so you just see and focus on the colors. And you'll get closer and closer. These are nebulas. These are actual nebulas. You know, when you're seeing this in meditation, you're in the cosmos. The sphere.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense.
A universal sphere, a galactic sphere, and a planetary sphere. And these are the spheres you'll be connected with. But begin the dialogue.